Hey, welcome to Repair University OE Edition. We are so thankful that you've joined us today. As you can see, we're still inside. So
we're inside because it's hot outside.
Oh, summer came early to Arkansas, so we're about 2 months early being inside where we were last year. So I'm really looking at a GoFundMe idea to maybe put some air conditioning out there in the shop.
Just throw it on some of the internet blogs and or the groups and see what happens.
Yeah, by Kristen air conditioning. So.
What do you mean, Kristen? It's Mark and Larry.
Well, we were talking about that. Yeah, there was a campaign thing that we'll talk about that later. I think maybe we could get people to pay pretty quickly for us to get air conditioning in the shop. All right, so the theme of the show, if everybody was following along, what we were going to be covering today was Audi, Volkswagen, and Porsche, right? But the Volkswagen
Yeah, we could do Lamborghini and Bentley and...
Yeah, because we see so many of those
yes.
in the collision center. So kind of an executive decision. We looked down, we kind of looked at it and realized, Audi and Porsche, well, that's restricted parts. Most of those cars are going to go to a certified repair facility. But Volkswagens tend to end up in shops all across the country.
Every shop could have a Volkswagen at any point.
Yeah, except for Arkansas. We don't see a lot of Volkswagen. So we've decided to put our focus solely on the Volkswagen this month and to walk through it. And from what Larry was talking about with us, with his Audi and Porsche experience, a lot of what we see here, applies. The Germans have a certain way of doing things, and we're kind of like it. So we're going to walk through it. One day I'm going to own one of these.
Yep, and then we're going to get you a surfboard.
I'm going to be the beach bum of Arkansas, right?
But there's no place to surf, but you'll look cool with the surfboard on top.
Right, and everybody knows I hate the beach, so that'll make it funny. Because the sand gets everywhere, and then I have issues with it.
That's a little too much information.
It gets in your camera lenses, it gets in your bags. 6 months later, you're still finding sand in the house. I have issues with it. All right, so let's get started because we got about an hour and a half worth of information to cover. Good news, we're not even getting to procedures in that hour and a half.
Yeah.
So where do we start every day? Well, I start every day on the ICAR RTS portal. So there's two places to really get your OE repair information. That's the ICAR portal or the OEM website.
And the cool thing, if you're going to do a Volkswagen yourself, you're already there because you start every day there.
Yep, I start every day there, so I'm in good shape. I recommend this. I really think everyone ought to start every day here. There's so much information, but especially my insurance peeps out there, because I know that you're probably not going to get your bosses to give you access to pay for the OE sites. So this is something that everyone can have access to, and it just gives you a footing to have the proper conversations.
Gives you enough information to talk. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So let's go over what we have in the ICAR. So obviously we go to rts.i/icar.com.
Just go to icar.com and then click Knowledge.
And then click Repairability Technical Support Portal. And here you are. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can hit the OE information button, and it's going to take you to that lovely assortment of emblems and grills. And then if you scroll all the way to the bottom, because it is alphabetized for your convenience, you will find the Volkswagen emblem. And once you are in there, well, there is a lot of information to look at. So Jason, Josh, Danielle, Susan, the team up in Appleton has been doing an amazing job. As you can see, every time we go in one of these over the course of just this year, there's so many more categories out.
And there's more.
And there's more.
So it's not like you read it once and you're good forever.
Yeah.
It's updated.
But they're doing a real good job of putting everything in folders and buckets and making it real easy for us to find what we need. But let's start with what my daily review is we always go to the ICAR news section. They update that just about every day with some sort of technical piece of information that we need to fix cars. And if I go to it from the OEM specific page, it will filter for me only stories that they've ran that are affected for Volkswagen. So just a couple examples there. Corrosion protection, I think we may be talking about that for the rest of our lives, maybe.
Well, we did the show, and apparently looking at what people are posting on the internet groups, we need to do a couple more.
We need to do another one.
Just on primer.
Yep. That's next. Look for it soon, a primer show. The primer on primer. But you see just protection, guys. You come on, it was funny. Don't look at me that way. You laughed. And then obviously sectioning and partial replacements there. So it's a great way to find what you need. The hot links will link you out to where you need to go.
And what's important about this, it's like you were teaching that class one day in the morning, and then it went to lunch, and then after lunch, everything changed.
Yep, BMW.
So,
Still don't
that was a
forgive them for
BMW, but that could happen with Volkswagen, that last week it was something and now it's changed.
Right.
So just because you thought you knew.
And the great thing about this is if you take an ICAR class it's covered, right? If you haven't taken an ICAR class, it's $200 for the whole entire year.
For the year.
Yeah.
Not per visit, not per month, per year.
And the information you get that makes your job easier. If I had a boss that says I'm absolutely not going to pay the $200 a year, I'd pay it myself.
Absolutely.
Just to be able to have.
Well, you get to the beach faster.
I'd get to the beach faster. I would. And then I'd have to get all the sand out.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, anybody in California that has tips on how to get rid of sand, I'd love to have them because it is summer beach vacation time with the kids. And so I feel like I bring half of Florida home with me every time we come back. Obviously, you get in here, you've got position statements. And this is my favorite place to go get OE position statements. There is OE One Stop, there's some others, but I have to be here anyway for other reasons, so I might as well get my position statements from here. So as you can see, Volkswagen has several, and they are very well written. So you can go in here and click them and read them. You can download them. You can print them. You can do anything off this site that you need to do. But guys, let's go through a couple of the biggies.
Bottom line is, if you were to just, you're bored and you want to get some education, just grab all these and just sit down and read them. Yeah, read them, Larry.
Got to read them.
Yeah,
or you could hire someone to read them to you.
Yeah, you could.
You could do that too.
Yeah, they're not an audiobook version though.
No.
Not yet.
Wait. Could I put that on like iTunes?
That's an idea. I have no idea.
Have you seen that? So I'm going to digress here because it's going to be good. So have you seen that YouTube video where it's like Samuel L. Jackson becomes the voice of your navigation system in your car?
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine position statements read by Larry. I bet we get flooded right now of people going, I'd buy that for $1.
For $1.
How many downloads for Larry reading position statements can we get? Anyway, I'm going to explore that business idea, and I will update you guys next month on where we are with that. So we're going to start with the vehicle structural and unibody component replacement. So that's structural and unibody.
Yep.
Mark, what does Volkswagen say about structural and unibody?
Well, they say a lot, but let's just highlight. So the Volkswagen Repair position statement refers to unibody structural components, including frame rails, apron assemblies, quarter panels, floor structures, bumpers, bumper reinforcement bars, A-pillars, B-pillars, body panels. I'm going to back up. Bumpers and bumper reinforcements
Are structural.
are structural, traditionally a bolt-on type assembly. They consider it to be structural.
And body panels.
Yeah. So then it goes on. These structural components are specifically designed to work in conjunction to provide maximum passenger safety in the event of a future collision. Concessions to any of these individual structural components may negatively impact the complete vehicle structure in the event of a future collision. That's a whole mouthful. But importantly, the bumper works in conjunction with it, and any concession to that can impact or negatively impact the complete vehicle structure in the event of a future collision.
And it's overall.
That sounds like a liability conversation, too.
It does, yeah. I absolutely love this. And those people that say, well, it's just a quarter panel? No.
No, it's not. Well, or it's just a bumper.
It's just a bumper. Just a bumper cover.
Yeah,
Mark.
just a bumper cover.
We can do anything we want
Part
with that.
of the structure of the car.
Yeah.
According to this.
This is not only what this repair standard or this guideline is for it's your what parts are critical, and Volkswagen calls them out very specifically. And then this is where it's your no used, no aftermarket, no reconditioned. So this is your position statement for that. And what I really love about this, and I would really hope one day to see more and more OEs begin to get this language, is Volkswagen is very clear here that unibody cars are some of their parts. They are not individual pieces. And these people that complain to have reverse engineered a single part, some company over in one other country is making bumper brackets and reverse engineering them and saying they are as safe. It doesn't fit for the way cars are built together and how they interact with each other.
Yep.
So great point here. This is a great point to hand to your customers, and really gets us going. So unibody alignment and repair. So we're going to skip over a couple. Obviously, we're going to skip full body sectioning. I can't believe there's still anybody on the planet that still thinks
Do we really need a position statement on that?
Apparently.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
I got
You
it.
do,
but
because these OEMs are on the Facebook pages and they see the stupidity and the ignorance that's in this industry that constantly goes on. And that's part of the problem, is that people don't want to change, so they still have to write stupid position statements or statements on doing something that's completely asinine.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
So
I'm surprised they
and
still don't
what
have
I'm saying
one.
is we actually, as an industry, it's embarrassing we have to have
They
that
still
position
have to
statement.
have, well, human beings by nature are stupid. Human beings are by nature stupid. They're stupid creatures. Why do you think we have to put on a coffee cup extremely hot? Kids do not drink coffee, adults do. Why do we still have to put do not, lick, taste, or touch battery acid? And it's on batteries. Who puts batteries in cars? Little children? Kindergarten people? Regular civilians? No. Collision repair, mechanics, and they have to put these warning labels on there because humans by nature are really dumb.
I still want to know who was the first guy that licked a toad to discover that had hallucinogenic properties. I mean, that's the one.
Somebody
I
had to go, huh?
But there's some of the stuff that really makes you scratch your head that people do nowadays. I mean, who would think to crack an egg open and cook it to then have food out of it, or like it that way?
Good point.
It just, that looks very, an egg doesn't look tasty. It looks cool. It looks like I want to paint it. If you really look at the shell of an egg, it's pretty cool looking. I'd like to put it like on a pedestal and have it like like some sort of display thing, but not go, I'd like to eat that. Why didn't you try eating a rock? I don't understand. It's a little confusing to me about how certain things occurred over time. And
for the first time in my life, I feel pretty dumb about eating eggs. Because now that I'm thinking about it, chicken just pooped it, and I'm going to crack it and eat it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the unibody.
Which has nothing to do with full body sectioning.
Right.
No.
Well, I think we're going to skip over that one because I really think that at some point.
But it goes to my stupidity. People are eating Tide Pods. They're spraying. I read on Facebook, somebody's spraying underarm deodorant in the same spot and just keep spraying it. It gives you like a burn after a while because you're overflood the area. This is just stupidity that's going on in this world. This is why you have to have these stupid position statements, that says don't cut the car in half and weld it back together.
So if we skip over unibody sectioning, and we're just gonna assume that our audience knows that that's a no-no. Yep. But if they ever had someone come in and tell them they should do that, well, here you can come and print it and hand it back to them, and there you go. But let's go to unibody alignment and repair, because I think this one is a really critical one that really sets Volkswagen apart from a lot of manufacturers on how to treat their vehicles. Larry, what are we learning in this one?
Well, that Volkswagen basically states here that all their vehicles are manufactured with precision body jigs, like a lot of manufacturers. But they further go on to say in the production process to help ensure body alignment and that it's correct panel fit. They got a lot of tight tolerances with their cars. Collision repairs to correct structural damage and body panel replacement should only be conducted on a Volkswagen of America approved straightening and measuring equipment. They have a list of what they approve. Not fixing it on one of those approved pieces of equipment can be an issue. Any and all welded structural panels, parts, pieces, and components must only be replaced while mounted to a Volkswagen of America approved straightening and measuring equipment. This, because Volkswagen of America works with these manufacturers to help ensure this meets all of their collision repair requirements. So basically, if you're changing a headlight, a bumper cover, and a headlamp, it should be mounted at least by the 4 jack mounts,
Jack points,
so that it's on a flat, level surface, which makes sense in a lot of different respects. I would even suggest putting that on there for a glass or a windshield, so you don't have this torsional movement of the body of the vehicle. But once again, everyone feels I've never had an issue, I've never had a problem, I never had this, and there's tons of lawsuits to back up people.
You're just going to start totaling all kinds of cars.
Yeah, doing stupid. Hey, you know what? But we don't make them. we don't design them. We don't collect premiums. We don't even. We didn't even pay for gas in the car. We didn't wreck it, but we fix them. And there's a book that tells us how to fix them, and this book tells us this. And it's very important to realize between not having pinch weld clamps, which I still hate that word, or rocket mounting flanges to grab onto, conventional type ones. BMW and Porsche both also have adhesive in those areas, and they specifically say if you do clamp onto them, you can destroy the adhesive that's in there. By destroying that adhesive, you now have weakened that area. If you grab all 4 corners, which sometimes is double clamps in each one, so you got like 16 spots you're putting a lot of induced force into, you can actually break down or degrade the strength of that adhesive in that area, that structural adhesive, and actually now make that area weaker.
Yeah. So bottom line, pretty much anything that I'm bolting on or welding on or pulling on a Volkswagen, it's going on a bench and it's getting set up.
Yeah, and if you notice by looking at that, it doesn't, a lot of manufacturers will say, you know, from 2006 and up.
And
This actually says all Volkswagen models.
Yeah.
And no year. So this goes all the way back to now.
Yep. And then no pinch wheel clamps and chains. So
Yep.
that's pretty clear there.
Yep.
So suspension, steering, and drive axle replacement parts, right? Because this is, I mean, if I can find a Volkswagen in the salvage yard that's got maybe 10,000 miles on it when it was wrecked, I mean, come on, right?
It's probably okay, right?
Why? Why can't I just put those on there? What's Volkswagen got for me here, Mark?
Well, this is near and dear to my heart, just, you know, in my previous life of working with Hunter and suspensions and all this. So Volkswagen suspension, steering, and drive axle components may be constructed of special alloys that include aluminum, nodular iron, special steel alloys. Volkswagen does not support the use of recycled parts, commonly known as junkyard parts. It says that, since there would be no clear indication of previous damage to these parts. So you just don't know what it's got. So crack, fatigue, damage can only be detected by sophisticated testing such as dye penetrant, Zyglow, Magnaflux, or X-ray. So what they're really saying is that, you know, if you're not bringing in that used part, we don't know what happened to it. We don't know the history. So we got to Magnaflux it, X-ray it, just to make sure there's no cracks, etc. And alignment of critical surfaces cannot be checked by visual inspection only, but require proprietary design blueprints. So if there's any problem with it, if we don't do our due diligence, we don't know what we got.
Right.
So for that reason, they're just saying don't use them.
Right. And if you go back to the February show for Repair University Live, where we did suspension and steering, and Larry has a video, the car gets hit in the rear, and you see the front wheel roll forward and then suddenly roll back, and you see it, the curb, not even anywhere close to the impact area, but we know that suspension had a lot of stress applied
and the
to it.
transmission in this case, because it was an all-wheel drive vehicle. One thing to understand here, it does say dye penetrant, Zyglow, Magnaflux. All three of those are the same. Zyglow is a company, Magnaflux is a company that is also a process. You cannot Magnaflux aluminum components because they're not magnetic. You can only Magnaflux magnetic components. Magnaflux.
But I can X-ray it.
You can X-ray it, yes. And Zyglow and dye penetrant are all dye penetrant just as dyeing something in the area. Zyglow actually uses a black light.
You know?
Yeah, they use a black light. So I just want to make everyone clear because I hear guys all the time talking about, oh, aluminum parts, I'm going to send it out and get it Magnafluxed. You don't have to send it out. You can do it yourself. 3 different spray cans that you utilize. You cannot send it out and get it tested at a lab for Magnafluxing because it's aluminum. Magnafluxing can only be done through magnetic type testing, and so that means it has to be a ferrous type object.
Yep. So here's the bottom line for me, the conversation I used to always have, and I'll throw my insurance hat on because I take a lot of criticism, right? You're making more cars total, Kristen. You're anti everything these days. And so here's the part. We never, ever had a discussion in this industry about the use of used airbags, even on the insurer side, right? Do we ever remember?
It was really quick if it happened.
Right, because it was a safety issue.
Yep.
For the love of donuts, I think I'm gonna make a shirt that says just for the love of donuts and wear it around everywhere. Steering and suspension is the component that touches the road.
Yep.
It has the most impact on drivability, accident avoidance, braking, real safety factors. It is as critical a safety component as an airbag, so why are we still trying to go grab used suspensions and throw them in vehicles after an accident?
Because too many shops and insurance companies feel totaling a car out is like losing a family member. And I've heard plenty of them say that, which is the most asinine statement I've ever heard in my life, because it's all about greed. It's about the insurance company's greed of giving away money, and it's about the shop's greed of not having work inside the shop to work on, even though we're fixing something that we shouldn't be fixing. But this is part of that
I'm
greed.
the first to say, when I totaled a customer's car, very few customers were happy with me in that scenario, right? But I would much rather have a totaled car than to have an unsafe car that I put my family back in. So that's really, and kudos. Volkswagen does a great job of explaining this and why it is what it is. It's not just I want to sell parts. Yep. It's there is damage potential. So let's go on over because we always know if we go to that airbag one right there, it tells us not to use these airbags. But let's talk about refinish procedures for clear coat. So we have a lot of paint companies that have put out refinish position statements, but here we have an OE that's got a refinish position statement.
Well, and the big thing about it is we got to go to a panel break. You got a quarter panel, you got to go to wherever it breaks, and if there's no roof molding, you might be doing the up and over. So you're going to paint the quarter panel up into the roof, down to the other quarter panel, and they're clear about it. And then basically they're saying no solvent blending, you know. And so now what we have is we have the paint company saying it, but we also have the OE now saying it, which is really great.
It's a good thing to put together. You can lay those out in there.
Yeah.
I hear every shop in America right now going, I only want to fix Volkswagens. So I'm going to become a Volkswagen shop.
I'll be honest, we do a lot of Volkswagen, Audi that have that up and over, and we've employed them to put a roof molding.
Yeah.
We'd rather just take off the doors and the fender and paint the uniside than to have to go up and over on every single one of these cars. And we're the shops that are getting paid for every single procedure on it. It is a little annoying to pay something that you don't have to. And when you're certified, you have to take film thickness measurements, reduce enough of the clear coat so when you do paint over the top of it, it still comes up relatively same number of mils so that it, you know, no one can really detect it's been painted. So this becomes a real, I don't care how much they pay you for it. Forget about car totaling. Who wants to do that type of work? It's painstaking. And your mistakes are always made on the roof panel or the opposite quarter panel. It's like, oh man, I burnt the paint, or I did this, or I did that.
The average shop that's going up and over, let's just take what an estimating system does, most of them. So it's going to be, a blend panel is half the panel paint time, including clear.
Well, that's what these fools do.
I got it. So now, but that's just, well, not your shop, but I'm talking about what the industry does. So now we're going to paint the roof for half the panel paint time, the other quarter panel for half the paint time, including clear and less materials. It's tough to make money doing that.
We actually charge more to prep a panel to that of a new undamaged panel, and then blend on top of it.
And I get what you do.
And that's
but the average shop, it's not a big money profit area.
They should do it. But yeah, I think so. But it just is what it is,
Yeah,
right?
it is what it is.
And it's not a this side versus this side. It's just the car stands alone.
It's not like the shop's greedy. They just got to do what they got to do.
Yeah, that's what I love about automotive. The car speaks for itself. And it's not really.
My bigger
whose
problem
opinion.
is the ones who claim they want to do it and then they don't do it.
They don't
do
do it,
back taping. I mean, we don't want to do it. We do it, and we show plenty of pictures of it. We want a molding on there. Please put some sort of a molding there. And more cars are coming out this way.
Give us a ditch.
Ford did it with the Fusion. Now you got a damage in the quarter panel and fix the rear bumper cover that you could have normally, kept to just one side of the car. Now you got to paint the other side of up and over the roof and on the other side of the car. And Ford has a position statement about not taking out that glass and reusing it. So now you got to buy two glasses. I mean, it becomes insane. Yeah. Put a molding, guys.
Yeah.
Please explain to me how that weighs the car down and ruins gas economy.
Moldings for paint.
How about a stripe? Bring back pinstriping.
Yeah.
Let's just stripe the roof.
Oh, remember when Ford had those big wide ones on the truck? They were fantastic what you could do with those. All right, so that's just position statements, articles, and other things there, but I guess it's probably time to go to the OE website.
Finally.
Yeah, finally.
Let's go.
We're just now getting to the OE website. So now there are a couple of options here. There is the Volkswagen Certified Collision site. And we are going to touch on that briefly because I'd not gone to it till Larry kind of said, hey, go look at it. And I love it for customers. We'll talk about that. And then there's actually Irwin, which you hear everybody talk about. And that's where you're going to go find your nuts and bolts and everything that you need about fixing the car. So briefly, we'll just talk about the Certified Collision Repair Program. So here's what I like about this. As a customer, they're going to want information. You're going to want to educate them on what it takes to properly repair their vehicle. The problem is you've either got to print it out and hand it to them, or you send them off on their own research. I personally like to send customers off to places on their own. That way it's not me handing them where I've either spoon-fed them, or in some people they will tell me that I've force-fed the customer information and twisted their mind or whatever. But I love this. If you go to the VWCCRF.com site, and they have on the homepage where it says view our standards. Doesn't say our processes. Doesn't say our position statements. It says view our standards, and I love that. And if you click that, you get all of those OE position statements right there. That's a great place to send a customer. It lets them do their own research and under the name of the OE. So keep that in mind. There's some stuff there. If you are a certified shop, well, you can log in, and there's some other stuff for you. But most of us fixing Volkswagens probably aren't going to be certified shops.
What a great resource, too.
Yeah, I love it. There's a video there you can watch for what it takes to be a Volkswagen certified shop. Is really well done. But love that they put those position statements there, and that's just put that in your folder as an estimator. When you're talking about your consumer education, whatever your plan is, hopefully you have a plan as a shop for how you educate the consumer during the estimating and blueprinting process. But that's a great place to send them. So let's get to Irwin.
And what's great is that's all free.
All free.
Yep.
Yep, all there, and the customer doesn't have to say that the shop told me that. They can go, I went to Volkswagen, and here's what I learned. So let's go to Irwin. So Irwin is the Volkswagen Group, which is Audi.
Oh,
and
that's for
everybody.
the non-dealership owned shop. Dealers go through something called ELSA, which is very similar, but hooked up, with all the security protocols because you're a dealership versus us getting this. But Irwin's great. It's a great source of information. You get everything that the dealers get as far as information goes.
So we got a couple of options when we're here, right? I can buy a day pass for $35 and get on here and play for an entire day. I can do a month for $250 or a year for $1,500. That's not expensive at all.
No.
I mean, if you think about in the grand scheme of things what you're going to learn here and what you're going to get to make back, just one document that we're going to cover, I think there's about $2,000-3,000 worth of charges in there that we'll kind of go to. So that'll be good to know. Like we tell every shop, you just need to go back and look at your book of business. How many of these are you fixing? How often and frequently are you fixing them? And then based on that, you'll know what you need to have access to. There are third-party alternatives, but they're sometimes behind, and when the OE makes changes.
Then not as good, especially with the German cars. They're really not.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in here. So let's pretend that we've made our payment. We've decided whatever means that we're going to get in here, and we are here. And once we are logged in, we're going to spend pretty much 99% of our time under that search tab that's at the top.
Who's Princess?
Well, that's Larry's logon. For
All right, it's the shop's logon, and it happens to be for Exclusive Auto Collision, and one of Tony's horses is named Princess, and that's why it's named Princess.
We just thought we'd ask.
Okay.
I mean, that's the story
Plus
you
one
want
him
to
a
tell.
lot of money. Leave me alone.
Yeah, that's the
Not
story.
mine.
But yeah, so you're going to go into the search tab. Now from here, I can do VIN or I can do make model and go through and hit the drop downs and get what I need.
VIN's always the best way
Yeah, I was
because
gonna
it
say,
also
always
gives
use the VIN if possible.
it also gives you the because you're on the manufacturer's website, it gives you recalls and it gives you a build sheet of everything that's involved in that, like all your ADAS stuff that you're unsure about that's in the car. It'll give you all that information, what it's equipped with.
I love that there. So it's VIN with every OEM is the way to go.
I mean, you looked at the car, you got the car. I mean, if you're unsure about the VIN, little trick, all you got to do is go into one of the database providers like Carfax or one of those, put in the license plate number, it'll give you the VIN. Then it'll ask you if you want to buy the report. Really simple. Take the VIN, put it in here.
And there you go. And away
Even
you
if
go.
you don't have the car, just take a
Yeah.
picture, you're good.
Oh, I got to write it down, Mark. I have to read the VIN and then I
No,
have to write
cut
the whole
and paste.
thing. That's 17 letters I have to
I
write.
know. There's a lot.
Jeez. Okay. All right. So if just for fun to go through this for what we did, we just went down and selected the year, the model. Obviously, there's categories of information. We were looking for repair manuals. There are probably 50 different combinations between category 1 and 2 I can put into. And like I said, I think it would take us a week
Lot of
to
combo there.
teach
Yep.
this whole entire thing. We're not even going to talk about scanning and diagnosis on this show, right? Hard to believe we're going to skip that. Once I get in there and I've got body, I've got a series of PDFs that I can look through. So I've got body exterior, interior, body repair and body collision. That's a generalized document for repairing Volkswagen vehicles. So not specific to the Jetta, which we have entered in our car here, but this is a generalized document. The specifics for the Jetta would be in that body repairs thing there.
Yeah, and also contained in there, like if you look for the guide for locating water leaks, that's training. So this is just not technical information about the car. This is the training, teaching you how to actually do your job.
Yeah, there's some good stuff
Which is
in
good.
there. So let's start with that generalized document. So the general information for body repair and collision, it is only 71 pages. But probably the most critical 71 pages you could read.
Yep.
So if you were a shop that just bought a day pass and you're looking for a particular vehicle, do not let the opportunity go by you to get this document and have it and
And
keep
read
it.
71 pages.
Yeah, and read it and just have it on hand. Looks like the latest edition was 2007. So some things can last you a while. Some repair procedures can't last you a while. But I would have this.
So this is not fixing the Jetta. This is fixing Volkswagen.
Volkswagens
Yep.
and Tours. So 71 pages. So fortunately or unfortunately, we're going to spend a majority of the show on these 71 pages. Because I told you, we're not even going to get to repair procedures in this show. So let's get
Tell
started.
them where it is, because we got a lot to go through.
Yeah, so here's the table of contents for those 71 pages, and as you can see, it covers a wide variety of content and material. Let's just touch on some of the biggies. So right off the bat, page 1. What's it telling me there in 1.1 there, Larry?
What?
Before any disassembly work is done, the vehicle should be securely attached to the lift.
Wait, so I can't just pull it in the shop, drive it in the corner, and start doing teardown?
More than likely, most of the stuff you're going to have to do, I mean, even to remove the front bumper fascia or rear bumper fascias, there's plastic covers underneath. So you're going to have to lift the car up at one point or another. Obviously, safety precautions. Secure it to a lift, lift it up in the air, drop it down, lift it up, drop it down, and it gives you, take tires off numerous times to remove splash shields and fenders or other components. So
is placing, I'm gonna channel Danny. Wait, no, you're gonna channel Danny. Placing a vehicle on a lift an included operation?
No.
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 Well, what would you include it in?
Awesome.
Yeah.
But I got right here, I haven't even turned to page 1, and I got one thing that I should be charging for.
Yeah.
One thing, right?
Yep.
And if it's going to go on and off that lift a couple times, like Larry's analogy on removing a tire, a wheel and tire, you may, through the course of the repair, have that wheel and tire off 4 or 5 times, right? There's
Yep.
4 or 5
You gotta
times
move
that's
the car
going to
and
get
all
charged.
that. Yeah.
So we go down to 1.2. We're still on page 1, by the way.
Yeah.
Mark, what do we have there about batteries and welding work?
Well, so battery and welding work. So the first one is, let's just take the note that's
Yep.
there about disconnecting the battery to ensure the radio. So before disconnecting the battery, Volkswagen's saying write down the radio codes. Well, that's just a good practice. They're saying do it so that we have it back in there for the customer. So that's a customer, courtesy. But then before welding work, always detach both the battery cables, not just the negative, both of them.
Wait, what about my surge protector?
No.
No,
Can you surge protect?
still got to take the battery out.
Well, surge
Okay.
protector protects the battery, nothing else. We're trying to protect everything else. So.
And by having a surge protector on, you actually leave systems live in the
Yep.
car and you can fry them.
Yep. So we got to disconnect the. But a lot of technicians say, "I'll just disconnect the negative battery cable, isolate it, I'm good."
And we're good.
But we got to do both here. And then, if the work produces a spark to be performed in the vicinity of the battery, not next to, didn't give. It's just saying in the vicinity of the battery, battery's got to come out.
So if maybe I'm not going to be welding, but I'm going to be doing a little grinding,
Anything spark in the area, battery's coming out.
that's good to know. But when I go to put the battery back in, what's special about Volkswagen and batteries?
So most vehicles, they say have the ignition off. Volkswagen says turn the ignition on. So switch the ignition on before connecting the battery. And then make sure nobody's in the car, obviously. But that's very different than most of the other manufacturers saying to have the key off.
Yeah.
And how would you know all this?
If you didn't read the manual.
We're just cruising through these 71 pages, and we're on, what is that,
One.
1.2?
We're on page 1. We've
one.
just flipped the glossary, and we are there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good information
So
there.
we've learned a lot.
Just on page
page
1.
one, yeah.
Yeah, we've learned a lot of what I've done wrong in the last 10 years on page 1. So there we go. Now, just like we covered in the blueprinting show on the General Motors vehicle that we had in the shop, Volkswagen has some pretty specific requirements around seatbelt testing.
And I got a lot of phone calls about that show, by the way. Like, do we really have to do that? Now, right back to, we said a lot of manufacturers have that right here with Volkswagen, 5 pages of seatbelt testing and how to do it.
And what does it say about it up there?
It says every accident.
Every accident.
Doesn't say minor, just says every accident, seatbelt must be checked systematically. If the damage is determined when checking the test points, customer must be informed regarding the necessity of changing belts. Pretty simple. It says every accident.
Yep.
So you jump up and you hit a curb, something minor, that's an accident.
Well, I think another part of this that for people that were calling after that show
Yep.
is that to explain to people the role that the seat belts play in airbag deployment.
Yep.
So, the reason the OEs have so many pages associated with checking seat belts is because it's a deciding factor in the when and the how and the what of when deployment happens. So definitely has to be done. It's not optional. It
Yep.
is 5 pages.
It can be a matter of life and death.
Yeah. Is it included?
No.
Is there labor that needs to be associated with that?
Well, especially when you start having to take covers off and go under dashes and different things as they describe. Yeah, there's labor involved.
Yeah, or
Absolutely.
drive testings. So you need to do drive testing with the
Yep.
amount of people that were occupied the car in the time of the accident. Need to get back in the car and go driving around,
With
right?
a couple people sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like lunch run. Maybe, I'm just kidding. Everybody, the dreaded lunch run with the customer car. All right. So let's keep going through supplemental restraint systems.
And
So
we're still in section 1.
we're still in section 1,
Yeah.
right? We haven't moved on. So Larry, what are they telling us about a vehicle that's equipped with an airbag? By the way, do we sell vehicles without airbags these days?
No.
Nope.
When
No.
about-
Most cars on the road, there's very few of them. The Volkswagen Bug maybe from 65.
Yeah.
But most of the cars, everything's got an airbag.
Everything's got an airbag.
Yeah.
So cutting, straightening, and or bending operations on vehicles with an airbag. So that's really every vehicle.
You know, pretty much the shop's watching this.
Yeah.
This applies to.
This applies to you. What is it telling me, Larry?
When working on the airbag systems and when performing straightening work during body repairs, the battery ground strap must be disconnected.
So obviously, well, yeah. I mean, Kristen, when I'm going to work on the airbag system, if I'm taking one in or out or whatever, then I'm going to do that. But Volkswagen's basically saying, hey, dummy, anything you're doing straightening, whether you got to disconnect this ground.
2-hour dent in the quarter panel.
2-hour dent in the quarter panel. 1-hour dent in the fender.
Yep.
You're going to be disconnecting this ground
And
strap.
then once we disconnect it, now that sets a lot of systems down. We might have to do some reprogramming, et cetera, depending on the model.
Right, and we'll channel our inner Jake, because Jake's probably at home right now going, I can't believe I'm not on the Volkswagen show, right? Mr. Volkswagen himself. When I disconnect that battery grounding strap, when I disconnect the terminal, that's going to trigger what?
All the ADAS stuff.
All the whole other calibration and reprogramming and all the stuff that I have to do. So could a 1-hour dent in a fender end up in a $9,000 estimate?
It could.
Easily.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely, extremely easily. So, boy, are the times a changing.
So and that's what we've been long saying, that if you're going to write an estimate, you got to get to RTS and this site, read all the information so you can include all these things.
Yeah,
And because you got to do them.
yeah. So I definitely wouldn't have a photo come into me and go, oh, well, I'm just going to put an hour worth of repair time on the fender, and then I'll paint, and pan will contain the paint within the fender, and that'll be a $900 estimate. We're done.
And you'll have a $10,000 supplement.
Yeah, and then possibly a customer running around in a car that should have been declared a total loss
Exactly.
way earlier in the system or whatever. So, all right, we're in page 2 now. So we're in section 2 now. This is what I told you. These 71 pages take up the whole entire show almost. We're not going to get out of much of anything
We're
else.
not going through all 71 either.
So, Larry, you are my suspension guru. And I told everybody during the suspension show, it's always been a struggle for me. I don't do well with it. I've been to every class known to man. And I just know enough to know it's important enough that I should keep my hands off of it.
Well, this year you should capture a little bit more of it because your son should be moving into geometry classes, and that's all it's based on is geometry. And I love the fact that everyone will argue day and night, up and down, insurance, body shop, owners, about structural damage realignment and how long it takes to move 8 millimeters of sway, 5 millimeters of mash, and 8-9 millimeters of sag, based on no scientific evidentiary proof whatsoever. There's no mathematical formula because you have to take into account so many different things: the type of material, substrate, how it's attached, how many attachment points does it have, the overall strength of it to be able to move it back to where. But they'll all come up with some sort of number they can actually agree upon. But suspension, you hand 95% of the people out there in the collision repair field, and almost 100% of the insurance company personnel out there, a printout of a wheel alignment, and they sit there and scratch their head. What'd the wheel alignment tech say? Oh, it needs a gas tank. Okay. It's just a bunch of numbers. And it's all geometry. It's math. You can actually prove it if you understand it.
Yep.
And because of this mathematical stuff, Audi, Porsche, and Volkswagen all have similar statements like this in their diagnostics on accident vehicles. Is damage to the running gear and assembly mountings, which could have very serious effects later on, is sometimes not discovered when an accident is being repaired, meaning supplement when it's on the frame machine. It's basically what they're trying to say there. Where accident damage indicates overstressing of the vehicle, special attention must be paid to the following components, completely independent of to the axle geometry check, which must be done in all cases. So besides measuring the vehicle prior to starting repairs, diagnostically, they say that complete completely independent of the axle geometry check, which must be done in all cases. That's a poor translation of
It's
a wheel alignment
alignment
check.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to pre-measure the car,
Gotta
or
pre-measure.
pre-repair measure the car, and then you have to do a wheel alignment check, which is basically put it on the wheel alignment machine, put everything on, do all the measurements like you're going to do an adjustment, and go, okay, I'm not going to do it. This stuff is damaged, and you have to do a structural measurement, because if any of your structural components are misaligned where suspension parts attach, you're not going to be able to do this geometry check.
Right. What I love here is where it says where the accident damage indicates overstressing of the vehicle. It doesn't say that I've had a wheel impact or an impact to the component or I've got a structural damage. It says that I've had an overstressing to the vehicle. So let's go back to that footage from February where we get hit in the right rear corner and we see all of that stress go into the vehicle in the front end. I'd be checking the front suspension on that car.
Well, once again, this goes where accident damage indicates overstressing. It doesn't say shows or you can see. Panel misalignment, especially with a lot of these German cars that have open apron assemblies where you got an upper rail, a lower rail, and nothing on the bottom, can have a lot of misalignment to the structure and still have decent panel gaps. So yes, panel gaps are one way of telling. Okay, wheel position is another way of telling, but to be accurate, you have to measure the vehicle to indicate or show proof of what actually is misaligned. So you have two different things you're doing there. Now they also come over, check the steering gear, check out a visual check for bent or cracked parts, check the running gear, all the suspension parts for any chips, paint missing, misalignment, twisting, anything binding, the wheel straight, one wheel straight and the other wheel's like this. Obviously there's an issue there. This is interesting, the third diamond down. Examine wheels and tires for damage. Sounds good, but they want you to check for true running and imbalance. True running would be basically to see if it's wobbling or if it's oblonged. So you'd have to do two static tests of that and hand spin the wheel on that, and then take the wheels off and check for balance. Examine tires for cuts, slits, etc. in treads and walls, meaning the side walls, and check the tire pressure. It's very important. Obviously the gearboxes, anything like that. And here's another interesting. So we already found out that the manufacturer tells you you have to reset the radio for the customer. Customer resets, right? We also know that someplace in here they're going to tell us you have to reset all the express features and memories, okay? But here's something else they tell you. Finally, a thorough road test after repairs will give the assurance that the vehicle is once again completely roadworthy and can be handed back to the customer without any doubts as to its mechanical state. So they're telling you you have to perform a
road test.
Final road test, final test drive, road test, final road test, or a final test drive to ensure that, and this a lot of times takes two techs to do this. One to watch everything in the car and listen for noise and stuff like that, and another to operate the vehicle safely.
Yeah, because we'll get to a point later where it tells you not to drive around with your scan tools and everything in your lap.
Yes.
So
we got an accident vehicle that needs an alignment check and a test drive.
Yeah.
I mean,
so let's go
and
back.
there's more than that.
So we're only on section 2.
I can tow a
Right?
car out just for this stuff right here.
Section 2 of a 71-page document. And here's what we've learned so far. One, it's got to go in the lift, and is that included?
No.
Nope. It's got to go on the lift, and I got to get it up in the air. Now, I'm going to have to, if I got like a dent in the fender, I'm going to be disconnecting a battery, correct?
And bolt cables.
Yeah.
Bolt cables.
And that's going to lead me to have to do what? A lot of scanning and
Scanning,
diagnostics
ADAS or
and whatever.
whatever.
Boom. Is that included?
No.
Oh, got to add that there and there. Now I'm going to get down to here, and I'm going to have to do, I now know that I got to do a pre-measure. Is that included?
Nope.
Nope.
I got to do a pre-alignment check. Is that included?
Nope.
And then I've got to do all of these things, runouts, tire, which you show. So if you don't know how to do a tire runout and all that, Larry shows that in that steering and suspension show. It's available on YouTube. You can go back and watch it right now. But is any of
Not
that?
right now. Wait till after the show.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Or you could just pause us and maybe go watch it and come back or whatever. But the power of YouTube, right?
Yeah.
But is any of that included?
No.
Nope.
So when I talk about how just the 71 pages alone completely added a lot to the estimate that probably was
I mean, you're at about, what, 12 to 15 lines on your estimate?
right.
And we found out about we have to do a road test, and we found out we have to reset the customer radio
codes.
conveniences.
Yep.
Doesn't even talk about the clock yet.
Wait, on behalf of Danny, Mark, is that included?
No.
All right, well, there we go. So let's go to 2.3. Straightening of body panels, basically, is what it says here. Mark, walk us through this one.
So bodies and floor sections are produced mainly from cold-formed, deep-drawn metal. So, and ICAR's, and this is not new, but this is just really weird. It's just black and white here. For this reason, reshaping of accident damaged areas should be carried out in the same manner. So,
Cold straightening.
cold straightening. If the extent of the damage does not permit reforming the damaged part, it should be cut off after the adjacent surfaces have been straightened. So if you can't straighten it, back to the same state and shape,
It's got to look
you
the same.
cut it off.
So it's not hammering it out to look like a pizza and then slathering it full of filler.
Yep.
Or just leaving it raw, right?
Yeah.
Some people don't even do that.
Undercoating.
Yeah. So rear body panel, if I can get it back to just the way it was, cold straightened, and without filling
Yep.
it full of filler,
Yep.
what do I do with that rear body panel?
Cut it off, put a new one on.
If I do that with a floor, what do I do with it?
Same thing.
There you go.
So we're not just slathering in to make it look good. These are body structures and cold straightening.
Right. It goes back to that statement before where Mark's going to kill me, right? Where Volkswagen basically says, hey, these panels have a purpose, and they all work together, and all of those designs and
Conjunctive,
and I don't want to say deformities, but impressions and convolutions that you see in those panels are there for a purpose. It's redirecting energy. It's not just because they wanted to have a place where water would gather in the rear of a car, right? So it is critical that you get that stuff back right. If you can't get it back right, just put a panel on there. It's not about you being a craftsman or 30 years of experience or I'm a metal guy versus a parts changer. It's about the car working together in unison.
You know, and we've said this before. So there's the only difference between two repairs is what you choose to do for free. It's only one way to fix a car.
Yep.
That's
And
the
I'm
one
okay
way.
with what you want to do for free.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to section 3 on this one because we're moving quite along on the 71 pages. This guide or this
You're on page
particular
3.
document
That's good.
is where you find all the symbols. So when we get into the repair procedures and you're wondering what is the circle and the slash and the squiggly lines and what does all that mean, here's where it is. Now, we saw an article, I'm going to call it an article or a news story come out in the GM Repair Insights this month where they're talking about the OE roundtable, and you have all the OEs that come to the roundtable. Volkswagen Group is one of the OEs that participates where we're looking at trying to get some uniformity, I guess, standardization in symbols. Maybe we'll get there, but until then, you're
We're
always
not
going
there.
to
It's all there anyway.
it's your map legend,
Yeah.
right? So if you go through the section 3, it'll tell you what the symbols for everything are when you're looking and reading in the document. Now, skip on down because we'll skip through. Section 5 is where you get all of your parts information for all of your materials. So these are your seam sealers, your adhesives, your body fillers, your screws, everything that's going to go on to a car, and a Volkswagen repair is listed here. Boom. 7, corrosion protection. They have a very good detailed list of corrosion protection when you do it, right? So always remove bores from your drill holes, so deburring and stuff. Wait, is that included?
Oh,
No.
Oh, see, there we go. Welding, weld-through primers on both sides, right? Mark, you particularly love the seam sealing position here
Yeah.
that probably everyone needs to know about.
It's been said for years and years, but a lot of technicians say, well, I'm going to put it back the way it was. You can't. When you put a quarter panel on, they're going to, at the factory, they dunk it in E-coat. Well, I've never, ever been in a shop that they have a pool they're dunking cars. So the only way that we can protect it from from water getting to the welds, etc., is to seam seal. So we got to seam seal all the welded seams, whether they were sealed from the factory or not. And it says that all seam welds must be primed both inside and out before sealing off. We got to seam seal it. Period. So sealant must be applied to primed sheet metal areas. I mean, it's just like
so
boom,
you
boom,
can't
boom,
make
boom,
a
boom,
choice
boom, boom.
of I'm going to use direct to metal
Sure.
sealer. No, you can't.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
They tell you no.
Yep.
They want it primed, probably abraded,
but
primed
the guy that
areas.
sold me the stuff said it's good.
Yeah, nobody cares what the guy who sold it to you for. I love when people tell me that. Okay, I'm giving you education. I'm telling you what the manufacturer says. Yeah, but the guy who sold me the guy who sold it to you is making money on it. I'm not making a dime. I'm an idiot. You know what? I'm hanging up the phone unless you pay me $1,000. Because obviously you only think if you're paying for something, does it have value?
Yep. And then they go down here and we'll get to, besides after we go through primer, and then overlapping all of our joints, we're going to do seam sealer after we've done all that over them. And then we're going to put cavity wax back there. And what I really love is they kind of go at the bottom and say, hey, dummy, before you deliver the car, right? So cavity wax
the
isn't.
drains.
Yeah, cavity wax isn't the last thing you do as it's driving out for delivery. You got to let it dry, and then you got to clear the drains to make sure.
And
that the
keep
car's
in
okay.
mind, if you're doing the bottom edges of doors and stuff, and you just painted the uniside, the car's back together, just have the battery disconnected, leave the car doors open overnight, and probably put some paper or cardboard on the floor and let it drip out overnight. Because if you come in the next day, you're probably going to have it all over your fresh paint, and it's probably going to ruin it.
Yeah, yeah.
So you don't want to have that happen.
So, and that's one of the mistakes that a lot of people do is they just spray it in there. They really want it to drip out the weep
They
holes.
want you to drip. The whole idea is it's supposed to move. It's a viscous material that starts off a little bit more liquidy, or not as viscous, and as time goes on, it gets thicker and thicker, but it's supposed to creep into all cavities. And when you first spray it on, it's very, very wet and moist, so it'll really creep in these areas. It's going to drip out those drain holes or weep holes, and it's going to get on the side of unisides or rocker moldings, and it's going to leave huge, massive stains in fresh paint. So either leave the rocker moldings off, or leave the doors open overnight, let it drip out and stuff. But the problem is, once a car's painted, it's supposed to leave 10 minutes later. That's the problem with most of these shops.
As we're pushing it like it's on fire out the front
Right.
door. So, all of this corrosion protection,
Not included.
it's not included?
No.
All those things that are coming up. Now, here's what we like about how it ends. So every Volkswagen document, so this body repair manual ends with these 3 pages. All the rest of the documents you're going to pull up are going to start with these 3 pages.
Well, and it's really awesome. You know, when Larry was, when we were discussing it, and Larry showed it to me, and Larry's the guru of this site. But you pull up the document on the internet, and it goes to the last 3 pages of the document. Now, logic would say, let me scroll up to page 1. You can't. You have to read those 3 pages, agree to it, and then it'll let you go back to page 1. You're like, okay, I'll bypass that. I'll just download the PDF. You download the PDF, you open it, it pops up and says, you have to be qualified to be doing this repair, and then it takes you to the last 3 pages you have to agree to, even in the PDF.
Yeah, so
It's
there's
brilliant.
some great information here. You read through the 3 pages. My favorite is bullet 1. If you lack the skills, tools, and equipment or a suitable workshop to do any of the procedures described in this manual, don't touch our car.
Yep.
It's just
Simple.
And you know what's funny though, Volkswagen's saying this to manufacturer, and I get yelled at all the time when I say that on a Facebook post, like, you know what, maybe you should send it to a shop that's better equipped.
I've been doing this for 30
knowledge.
years.
I've been doing this for 30 years. Okay, nobody cares. And what's funny is that almost similar statement when you first open a PDF, before it even shows you these last 3 pages, it'll actually have a thing that pops up. All repairs should be performed by a trained, educated technician.
Yep. And so it goes back to this, and this is what
But if
I
we
always
go back for 1 second, point out another one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 down. Anytime the battery has been disconnected on an automatic transmission vehicle, it will be necessary to reestablish the transmission control module back to settings using the VAG 1551 scan tool, although they do have equivalent tools that can be used. But so if you disconnect the battery, even if you're at home and your battery dies and you go, oh, it's dead, that's disconnected, and I charge it up again, some stuff may not work. I might have to go back to I might even be able to get shifted into gear.
Or I go to AutoZone and say, hey, can you replace my battery in the parking lot?
Yeah, sure, no problem. And you know what AutoZone will tell you? They'll come outside with their scanner and go, yeah, your transmission control module's out of parameters. I don't know what to do. Tow it to the dealership. So there's some of the other stuff in here is like OSHA / or your own personal safety
Common
stuff.
sense.
There's no such thing as common sense. Here, watch it. Look, the bottom one. Never run an engine unless the area is well ventilated. Carbon monoxide kills. Human beings are so stupid that we have to tell you in a enclosed area, if you leave a car running, the carbon monoxide will kill you. I don't know. I've seen plenty of news articles on people killing themselves by starting their car. They committed suicide by starting their car inside the house. And wait, the biggest thing is nowadays with all this new heating systems and the central air, everyone has not only a fire alarm, but what else are they now?
Carbon monoxide.
Why? Because families have died
kills.
sleeping at night. They've been killed. But we have to put this with a bunch of people who deal with carbon monoxide since when? Since we stopped running cars off of steam. But this is how stupid people can be.
Well, go back because I like the one right
Yep.
before that. So it says, do not attempt to work on your vehicle if you do not feel well. You increase the danger of injury to yourself and others if you are tired, upset, or have taken medicine. That's a lot of people in our industry.
Or other substance that
Or
may
other substance that may impair you or keep you from being fully alert.
I do love
I
this.
just have to say that, right?
I know, I do love this document, and I do love the fact that you have to certify it. So here's my thing that I always, kind of get on my soapbox about. If I, as a repairer, want to look across the aisle to the insurance industry and go, I am the repair professional, I'm trained, and I deserve to be paid according to that, then sometimes it means I'm not always the one that fixes every car, right?
Exactly.
My ability to stand on that and ask to be paid means that I have to know when I'm not qualified and I have to pass on the car. And if I'm not willing to pass on that, then how do we expect anyone across the aisle to feel accountable over anything other than what's an industry standard, right?
I mean, the days of every shop fixing every car.
Yeah, I'm just not qualified for every car. Just am not. It doesn't mean that my 30 years of experience isn't worth anything. My brothers, my dads, none of us. It just means we're not qualified for every car, and that's okay, right? Some things we can do and some things we can't. All right, so let's go back to the page where we started our search, right? So we did the body repair and body collision repair manual. Now let's get into the body repairs. Well, that's where I'm going to find all my repair procedures and information. So back to our Jetta 2015 or newer Jetta applies to this. The repair manual for that Jetta is 350 pages. That's a little much, right? It's not the 71 pages.
We're not going through all that.
We are not. So the bottom line is we can't tell you in a show everything you need to know about how to fix every car. At the end of the day, you are still going to need to get in there, research the operations that you're doing, pull the procedures, learn how to read the legends, and find it. And so just a little short graphic example here of some of the things that are in the Jetta
They'll
manual.
show you where the bolt locations are, which is an assistance. They'll show you where spacers might be or washers, or you got 4 different washers, where do they go? And they'll give you torque specs also on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So that's really important on the exterior, where it says exterior versus interior. Exterior will give you how to take the bumper cover off. Now you're in the body repair, so you're going to learn where to take off the front module or front cross member, which is your ride support basically, which is usually a composite material.
Just lots of information in here. And so, like we said, it's each and every car, each and every time. How I fix a Jetta is not how I'm going to fix an EOS or a Touareg or a, what's the van? Ratatouille, whatever. Did you
just call it a Walt Disney movie?
I did. The names that they come up with for these cars. It's like, can we just call it Steve? Can we have a car named Steve and Frank? That would make me happy, right?
Yeah.
But I just can't assume that every car is going to be the same. I've always got to go in there and pull the repair procedures for it. And Volkswagen has a great video that is available from Volkswagen Ireland, I believe, that takes, it may have been a Jetta, and basically takes a 2015 and fixes that 2015 with the repair procedures and all of the recommended equipment and everything that Volkswagen said to fix this car. And then the next year the body changes, right? So then they come out with a 2016 and they fix that car with the 2015 repair procedures, and then they crash test them, and it's a catastrophic difference for that. So even following an OE procedure from the previous year isn't always the best thing to do.
Just because they look the same.
Yep. So you've
Doesn't
always
mean
got to go
anything.
in here and check it. And like I said,
Every
that's
car every time.
350 pages. So each and every time, now you know where to find it. Now you're going to have to dig in and get on there what you need.
And pull it with a VIN.
Yeah. Now let's go back to this thing. So paint information, right? What could I possibly need to know about paint when it comes to a Volkswagen? And well, our friends at PPG go, well, you need to know everything about paint, Chris. And so, but what's really interesting, and the reason we want to talk about this is that it says paint, but it's not just paint.
Right.
So it's basically coatings. Anything that would be considered a coatings is what is in this document. And so these are my primers, my seam sealers, my underbody protections, my cavity waxes, all of the details on that. So our general guideline said, hey, dummy, do it. This document tells me where and the how and the what that I'm going to do in here. And it's 50-something pages long just on that, right?
I was just going to say, there's, yeah, exactly.
So walking through it, just so that you can get an idea, impact-resistant primers Anti-stone chip primers.
So we're not just going to paint the hood, just one thing. We got to put the primers in that are the stone chips.
Right, and here Volkswagen's telling me where it is. It's along the fenders, the hoods, the doors.
And most of it is smooth. You'd have to only tell it by a film thickness gauge.
Okay, Jeff.
To see where the differences are. But this is the more smoother stuff versus what we see on the rocker panels, which is usually a heavy coating, which they also go over in this on how to spray it, what equipment to use, and what type of material to use.
Yeah, it's not like the Subaru where it was just really on there. You could tell. You can't tell.
Yeah, no, not on some of this. Some of these cars, yeah, there's some rocker guard on there that's pretty crazy, and Volkswagen, 3M has even a guide to how to match Volkswagen's texture or whatever. But the stuff on the hood and the trunks, well, you don't see that.
Can't even see it.
Now, when I replace those panels, does that stuff need to go back on there?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it included?
No. Nope.
Oh, there we go. So there's more information there. There is our guides to seam sealer, so what they consider the core seam sealer, which is what you probably find on here, the apron example, or you have on the rear and the floor pans and the rear body panels or whatever. Tells me where it's going.
How thick and how high.
How thick and how high. Pretty.
And a lot of times the best thing to do is take a cardboard box, and either if you're spraying a heavy spray or you're just using it as a regular pump, you can pump into the edges where the corners meet up, the 90-degree angle, and use that to try and gauge and adjust your gun. That practice of the seam sealer application is not an included
That's
process.
not included. Taping off, so here's another thing. If you have, there's one estimating that says the application of like a seam sealer is included. It does not include all the taping.
Standard factory application.
Standard,
Yes.
right. So
But
all
not
of this.
all seams, just wherever they put it, that may be included, but what's not included is the material and all the seams that weren't seam sealed from the factory.
And
Which we
sprayable
have
seam
to do
sealer
now
because it tells me to.
because we have to seal
and
everything. so
sprayable
water
seam
doesn't
seal
get
is
to it.
never included. And the DEG actually has a inquiry that went over all three in a little article if you search the DEG website.
Yeah. But if you watch, we
seam
get some
sealers.
great pictures out there. Was it Keyshawn in Maryland?
Yeah.
Great technician. He shares every time he's kind of doing seam sealer. All the time and energy he spends laying out the masking
There's some
tape,
beautiful stuff.
having the perfect space for the millimeter of widths and everything that he's doing. That's not included. And that all needs to be labor time on the estimate because it's all that has to be replaced. Plus material, setup time, matching factory texture. None of that stuff's included either. So there's a lot in here, but I love it. It tells me exactly what I have to do. But I'm also going to have to seam seal new parts when I buy them. Doors, hoods. And Volkswagen has an outline and tells me where it goes, how it goes. I have to have it smooth. Again, width and height of what I can have on that. It's very specific, all the information that I need here.
Yeah, and the reason why a lot of technicians say, well, if it didn't come out of the box with it, it probably doesn't need it. Well, if they put a hood on a car, then they seam seal it on the car as it's going down the assembly line. That hood never got to that part of the production process to get seam sealer. That's why it's not there. So we have to put it on, and that's not included.
Yep. And then, oh, but wait, after I seam seal it,
Yeah.
I got to go back and apply cavity wax,
Correct.
doors, hoods, all these areas that are trunks where I'm replacing parts that need cavity wax after it gets out of paint.
Yeah.
And in this refinish document, you will find the where, the dimensions, the how, and the what product you need to be using.
And it's really critical what you just said, after paint. So now the body tech, it's got to come out of the paint department to the body tech. They're going to put it together. We got to put this stuff in, and then we have to let it dry or be in there long enough so that it's not dripping out when the customer picks it up.
Oh, yeah.
So we got to be planning this into our process.
And putting it in there. If I'm painting these things on stands, they're going to stay on stands.
I remember at the bottom of the door, they're telling you that your X equals 10 millimeters, so the height of it is 10 millimeters. So,
Pull it up, baby.
that's 10 dimes piled on top of each other, if you think about it, that you're spraying that whole bottom there. They want a heavy, heavy coat put on the bottom, so that stuff's going to drip a lot
Yep.
until it starts to cure up.
Yep.
And so that's why you should really, spray it as soon as it's done being painted and the paint's cured enough that you can apply a material. While you're putting the door together, spray that stuff in there first, and it's at the bottom edges of it and stuff like that. So, because it will drip out until it starts to cure
Or
up.
maybe a situation is, this is where we want Sean, our cavity wax guru, and Dennis to come join us. But I may have to tape my holes to prevent draining.
Yeah.
Let it cure to the or cure up to the depth that I need it, and then clear my drain holes.
Absolutely.
Right.
Clear the
So
drain holes.
I've got some work there. And wait, is that included?
No.
No. So when we talk about the average technician in a shop should use at least a can a week. So when everybody tells me they're a great technician, I don't even have to come look at your work. I can call your jobber and go, this shop has 10 technicians. How many cans of cavity wax have you sold to them
One every
this month?
6 months.
Right.
Yeah.
I
You
can
know they're not doing it
tell
right.
you whether you're a good technician
Exactly.
or not. I don't even have to come to your shop. So a great
We just say
document.
they don't love their customer.
Don't love your customer. Yeah, that's what it really all comes down to, Mark. If you love the customer enough to put the car back the way that they bought it and to ensure their safety in the future.
Yep.
And I love it when a technician tells me, I put my family in a car. I'm not worried about your family. I'm worried about mine. So you may not love your family. I particularly love mine, and that's who I want to make sure is safe. So again, this is the paint document, right? So something that we might overlook or think isn't critical or whatever, anything that's a coating, you're going to find in the Volkswagen paint document. So it's definitely great to have. So we did contact our friends at Volkswagen, and they were helpful, had a few things that they wanted us to share. Obviously, the things that we've shared today were the things that we knew body shops and insurance adjusters and kind of the industry at whole needed to be doing. But Volkswagen does have a certified collision repair program. You do need to be sponsored by a dealership, correct? So it doesn't mean that I have to be at the dealership body shop, but I do need to be sponsored by a dealership to be considered. They have an entire document of, there's that video, right, what it takes to be a certified shop. But then they have this entire document on their certified collision program, what the basic requirements are, what it means, and what you have to have. And those requirements are well beyond equipment. So there's a lot of things that are important to Volkswagen from the time that the customer hits the lot. So an important document to cover. If you are sponsored, then you are available for some Volkswagen training. And here are some of the training classes that are available currently right now through Volkswagen. There is the Beetle class. There is a Volkswagen body alignment and structural repairs class. They do need to be taken in the same week, so you can't split those up. And then there is Volkswagen collision welding, which is a prerequisite to take the Volkswagen welding expert class. So notice it doesn't say welding professional because, as Larry says, we're not pros.
We're not pros, but what's nice is basically the cabriolet covers basically all the Volkswagen convertibles. That's really what it concentrates on, is the roof assembly on that, plus the other similar repair procedures amongst the cars, because the Volkswagen really, a lot of the repair procedures are similar amongst the cars. This is the only company I know, OEM, that actually has a body alignment class. You actually go there and actually pull cars, learn how to pull cars and stuff like that, and then also the structural repairs, so now you have an overall of all range of the vehicles. The structural repairs, because they're, once again, very similar. The sectioning joints might be in different locations on a few different models, but basically it's all the same process repair procedures, which I'll be honest, because we're Volkswagen and Audi steel cars are very similar also to Volkswagen, so it does make it easier when you go for this training. It becomes very redundant on a lot of stuff. Porsche is a little bit different because they have a lot of aluminum mix, which goes into also the aluminum mix with Audi that has now their hybrid construction vehicles. Their welding technology, now this is the only course I know that does silicone bronze from the OE, because they use a lot of silicone bronze as opposed to Audi that doesn't use it. And they have a lot of that, so they'll do silicone bronze and resistance welding and mag welding. So they're going to do all three with you while you're at this training thing. And Warren Barber, who runs it, is a former welder himself. Besides being a repair technician, he had done AWS welding also. So, you know, Warren really knows a lot about the welding, tests the machines, goes over the machines. So he really shows you a few different tricks and tips and stuff like that. And we actually even grind or dress silicone bronze welds, you know, to see what they look like when we're done and stuff like that. And then you have a little bit harder of a course afterwards, the welding expert, which is really nice that they're having these courses. And I know they had some other courses. They've actually, I guess, been sunsetted that we've taken, and now I'm sure they'll add new courses as the new models come out.
Right. So if you are at a dealership, well, obviously you can get this training. If you are an independent shop and you can get a dealership to sponsor you, well, you can go get this training.
Yeah, if you can get a dealership to sponsor you, or when you do, getting to these courses, this is fantastic training.
Yeah, it's
applies
gold.
to your other models.
It's gold. Changes the way you look at everything. And I've never had a tech go to an OE training and come back still set in his ways.
Right.
I've always had a tech go off and come back and go, wow.
They're changed.
I did not know what I didn't know.
Going away for hands-on training is one of the smartest things that can possibly occur or happen. That's why we do it with some of our classes. Besides doing them online, we have people come away and get away from the shop, mini vacation, whatever, but you get a better understanding of what's going on. What happens with this, especially when you go through with the same guys through each one of these courses, they have these programs set up. We, as the techs who've been there for years, help the instructor, like Warren in this case, change the new person's attitude that comes in. They start to, it's like the military or the Marines where they brainwash
like
you
boot
into
camp.
this.
Yeah.
But it really does, it gets you thinking a different way. Yes, you do have to understand the German way of thinking, and yes, sometimes translation. But what's nice about this and a lot of the other European companies, and you saw what it take. 2 phone calls yesterday. I called his office number and I called his cell number, and he picked me right up on the cell because he wasn't in the office. But they pick up all the time. There's someone to get in contact with because you're part of the program. If I'm looking at a repair procedure that makes no sense to me whatsoever, and I think I'm fairly well versed on this, and Carmine from Mid-Island, let's say, and I are going over it, and we're like, this doesn't make sense. We think it's a translation issue. We'll call Warren in this case. And Warren will say, you know what? Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me either. Let me call Germany. And sure enough, Arnold Schwarzenegger gets on the phone and tells him, a Wiedersehen, and, it's wrong, and it corrects it and says, hey, do this. But you get a letter. You get an email that says, no, do it this way. And you're like, oh, okay, now I have a document I can put in there that can say I can do this, this, or this. Yeah, which is really nice that you have someone to call to versus, trying to call ICAR, that ICAR is going to try and call somebody at the manufacturer, or going on Facebook and expecting an answer. And the only real answer any one of us are going to give them is,
how do you get this door trim?
Go to the OE.
Go to the OE. There's 2 companies out there. It's like, well, they don't make repair procedures for that particular car, so total it. Well, that's not an answer.
By the way, those are my favorite. How do you get the door handle off? I'm like, if you can't get the door handle off, we clearly have a larger problem at hand.
Yeah.
Than getting the door handle.
But see, I don't have a problem answering a question when somebody says, look, I read the instructions, I went over everything, I'm really not sure. Okay, I'll help you read it and explain it to you because
you tried.
Yeah, there's some differences there that you may not understand, and I'll help you through it. But if I didn't even try, it's like, well, can somebody look this up for me? And there's always some idiot that's going to post the pictures and stuff like that. Oh, here's the procedure. Here's this. Here's that. Well, are you kidding me?
Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about equipment, right? Obviously, if you become a Volkswagen certified center, you're going to have some very specific requirements of some equipment that you have to buy. Yep. It has to be that VAS equipment. It has to be, you can't substitute or whatever. But let's face it, not every shop in North America is going to become a Volkswagen certified repair center, but they are going to fix some Volkswagens. And so here's what we tell shops. We tell them that when you're deciding what equipment to buy and purchase in your facility, let all the salesmen go away, right? I have my preferences, Larry has preferences, Mark, you probably have equipment you like. Yep. Let all of that go away. Look at the book of business of which you are servicing on a regular basis, and then go find equipment that fits as many of those OEs as possible. And that equipment that you're going to be able to grow with. So real quickly, we'll go over some of the certified equipment in the program. Obviously, there are several welder selections that you can have. From what we could gather, looking through the procedures, and pretty much every OEM, they prefer squeeze type resistant spot welding wherever you can reach, and if you can't reach, well, there's some other options there. So there's a Tecna, Electron, Wieslander Shield is in there, Carliner, and GYS. So there's.
But you have to order it through Snap-on Solutions.
If you are going to be a certified collision
shop.
center.
Right.
But if I am a shop that I know, hey, I'm not going to become a Volkswagen certified shop, but I do fix a few Volkswagens every year, and maybe I'm trying to decide.
So my welder selection makes sense to buy this one.
Correct.
Because it works for this.
So how many times do we see on Facebook a week going, hey, I need to buy a spot welder, which one of these 2 do you like? And our response is, well, what are you fixing? Yeah. Right? I mean, we all have one that we like better than the other, or, the i4 was like the wonder welder, and we loved it, right? But if it's not on a lot of the OE programs, then
and part of the problem is you have to realize eventually you may not even be able to fix this Volkswagen or some of these other cars because parts restrictions, type of construction, or even where some of these companies now on leases or finance through the OEM bank, like Volkswagen of America Bank, that, financial services, you might have to bring it back to a certified shop only. Yeah. So you might see less and less of these cars, almost where it's like a DRP system. Yep. Well, it is a direct repair system, just not run by insurers.
The key is that if I'm going to make a $25,000 to $30,000 investment in a welder, really as a repairer, I probably need to be thinking to make sure that I'm getting a piece of equipment that fixes the most amount of models that are coming to my car. Absolutely. Whether I'm certified or not, I still have to have the right welder to fix that car.
Yeah, and that's where I was going to go, is that whether you're certified or not, if you're going to be fixing the vehicle, you got to use the equipment they say. And if you don't have the equipment, you shouldn't fix the car.
Because it's not just about having a spot welder. There's so many things. I mean, we learned last week on the rivet show, it's not just about having a rivet gun.
Right, exactly.
Right? There's so many things with pressure and tonnage and you know, whatever. You just are like, man, just tell me what to buy.
Yeah.
But these are the things that we ask. But Larry is correct in that. I love my CTR 12,000. Right, it's a fantastic welder. But if I have it in my shop, right, and if I wanted to go be a Volkswagen certified shop, that I can't be on the program. I'm going to have to buy it through this VAS program. It's going to have to come to me in gray instead of blue, and then I'm going to have to use it on the car.
And even with these selections, if you're in an area that sees Volkswagen, you might be in an area that also sells Audi, and you might start seeing them. Now you really have to think through and say, well, if I buy one welder, I'm not going to say anyone which one of the welders, but if I buy one welder, that welder may not be on Audi's program, you know, it's under the Volkswagen Auto Group, so you might have to really think and go, well, you know, I really didn't want Larry's welder, I wanted Kristen's welder, but Mark's welder is the one that's on Volkswagen and on Audi. Oh, and look, Mercedes-Benz also approves all three welders, but Mark's the only one approved by Audi, so guess what? I might have to go with Mark's.
Even if you don't like me.
Even if you don't like, you know.
People call me all the time and go, well, what welder do you like? Well, don't ask me that, because I like Carliner, right? So, but that doesn't matter what I like. It matters what you're fixing and what's coming into your shop, and then you choosing the best piece of equipment that covers all of those brands. So if I'm fixing Toyotas and Hondas and some Volkswagens and some General Motors, I need to find a piece of equipment as an independent
covers the broadest.
That covers it, because I can't just pull out any welder and fix the car when it comes in, so I got to make sure.
The last time I checked, I believe if you're on every single certified program, including the very restrictive ones, you'll need a minimum of 2 resistance welders and a minimum of 2, if you're starting right now. Some of the stuff is grandfathered in, so you could probably pass it. But I'm talking start up tomorrow. I could get sponsored by everybody. You know, you're looking at 2 resistance welders and at least 2 different aluminum MIG welders, and at least 1 aluminum MIG welder for silicone bronze. Excuse me, a MIG welder for silicone bronze. So you're looking at, you know, probably $100,000 in just welders right off the bat. And that's to be on every single one of the programs, just because of the overlap and non-overlap between companies.
But so here's the deal that I make, right? And as we tell everybody, I don't care whether you want to be a certified shop or not, but for the love of donuts, right? Go look at what the certified equipment list is and make a very intelligent decision on what you buy, not because you like the salesman or they're offering you a discount or there's a super special going on for NACE that's coming up in August or any of those things. Make very intelligent decisions, because if you choose wrongly, you have to buy again. Right? Or you can't fix the car. And sometimes I can't fix the car. And it's like, hey, what? You know what? That Miata is cute, but bye. Right?
I mean, if something goes wrong, and you know, we've seen enough litigation. If something goes wrong, they're going to go. Everybody's going to go right back to the OEM procedures and the equipment. And if you say, well, I repaired the car, but I didn't have the right welder, it's game over.
Yep, it's done. And so just to hit the majors, obviously welders are big, and then we spent a lot of time talking about how much Volkswagen wants their vehicles in fixtures and on the benches, right, and being hailed. The 2 systems that we use here at Collision Hub are on the program. So between Celette and Carliner, you are covered. There are some other systems that are on the Volkswagen approved program, but you know, for here it was good for us to know that, hey, what we've got back there gets the job done.
You can fix Volkswagen.
So again, just like with welders, if I was going to make a purchase decision, on a new bench, new rack, new measuring system, new whatever, I would go look at the OEs and figure out which system gets me the most bang for my buck. Doesn't matter what I like. Obviously, I like Carliner and Celette.
And it works.
and it works, but I tell people, don't ask me what I like. Just go find out what you're working on and pick the best piece of equipment that works for you. Well, guys, like I said, it was about an hour and a half, and we didn't even really get into procedures very much at all. We just covered the basics on that. So there is a lot of information. I do truly believe that everything that we're hearing around the industry lately at all the events is that shops are going to end up with nothing but a position of a research person. That's their entire job, is to research every repair.
Research and scan.
And then brief the technicians on what the processes are.
But the techs are really going to need computers at their particular area, and be able to have access to other information they're going to need. And repairs have to slow down.
Yeah.
Repairs can't be done that quickly, and that includes. There seems to be a lot of wasted time at the beginning because nobody really truly knows how to run a shop correctly, and then getting it into work process. Then all of a sudden everything, okay, we'll give the frame guy a little bit of time to get this done, and then as soon as the framework's done, well, bodywork's got to be done in a half a day. It's got to be primed the following, it's got to be primed that afternoon and already be ready for tape.
I'm going to cure the paint in 6 minutes.
Yeah, and then go, and it's like what.
Yep.
Cars are so far advanced, they're trying to figure out how to do faster and faster and faster and faster repairs. You know what? You want to do faster repairs, make every car out of titanium. They'll be about $400,000 a piece, and all you do is you just have body shops that have hot water car washes. You run the car through with hot water, and the car goes back into shape again.
Like Christine.
And you pull it out, and that's it. You're done with it. But they need to slow down. This outside pressure from everybody, and like when customers complain, I didn't wreck your car, you did.
Yep.
Okay? I'm gonna fix it for you. If you don't like it, I'll total it for you. I'll get it totaled for you, and you can go buy another car. But I'm telling you, we need time to fix this. Parts aren't being held at the dealerships anymore. Parts take a while to come to you. Okay, no longer can you just call up in the morning before 9 o'clock and they're going to throw that fender onto the truck so it's out for the morning delivery. You might have to wait 2 days for it. So that slows up the process.
Well, it all comes under my blueprinting, right? I've got to do the blueprinting process. And like we said, we just, in the 71 pages alone, we found thousands of dollars of additional charges that would need to be on the estimate. So here's the thing, like you said, Mark, there's only, you can charge, not charge, you can do anything for free. Every 5th car on Friday is a free repair. I don't really care.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up to you as a business owner. If you think that you have a business partner or a DRP relationship and you want to hold down their severity, awesome. You still have to do everything that was in that manual.
Yep.
So you can charge for it or not charge for it. We don't care, but you absolutely have to do it, and there's no way around
The
it.
fact of, they don't pay for that, great. Then you're doing it for free, you're not doing the job.
Yep.
Very simple.
Yep, that's the way it goes. So sometimes maybe I might have to pass on a job because I can't afford to fix the car, right? All right, well that's it for OE. We're gonna be back next month covering a lot more in detail. We're gonna be back with Ford for July. And I know that the phones are gonna light up for the Ford show. So we've got some special guests coming back to join us for that have some insight on Ford. Ford's not joining us, they're not coming in, but we do have some special guests that will be coming in for the Ford show. So lots to talk about on that next month. It's still going to be hot, so we're still going to be right back in here. Unless someone wants to donate air conditioning to Collision Hub.
Are we bringing a F-150 in here?
I think I can get it fixed. I think I can fit it in here.
Okay.
Actually, I've got like the little F-150 model car.
I saw online if you apply heat to it, they become real small.
What were those, shrinky dinks
Yeah.
when we were little?
Yeah, color it out and put it in the oven. Yeah.
We're going to do shrinky dink car repairs. That'll be fantastic. All right, folks. Well, thanks for joining us. As we said, we know it's going to be an hour and a half show. We will see you next month. Thanks.